today, who was going to be our general effect adjudicator at the Green and Silver Classic, which has turned into a flash flood event. So instead, we're going to turn today into an educational day with Mr. Britt, who is director of the Pride of Oklahoma at the University of Oklahoma, and also an associate dean in the College of Fine Arts. My initial contact with Mr. Britt, the level of respect that I had for the Pride of Oklahoma under the director that was in place when he was an undergraduate student there, and that would be a man by the name of Gene Britt. So the ensemble had a fantastic reputation, and it was a group that I was strongly encouraged to observe live, which I had the opportunity to do, and of course was extremely impressed. And then over the years, as Mr. Threlkill retired and Mr. Britt took over, the band, has continued and to its standard of excellence. And then, when Facebook came online, and he came online during the Ice Bucket Challenge. Do you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? I think most of us were involved in that. Well, then he became a Facebook regular, and I've been impressed with the depth and kindness of the posts that he makes about his band students and the things that he lives through together with those. So he's just a great human being, and we're very happy to have you here today. So welcome. We're just going to follow a Q&A format. I hope some of you have questions for Mr. Britt. I'm going to start to get the ball rolling here and ask you if you could tell us a bit about your upbringing and background.
Sure. Actually, I was born in Florida to two teachers. My dad was a choral director. My mom, at that time, was an elementary music teacher, later became a history teacher because having two choir directors in the same house had the same schedule about it, and so that didn't work. We moved to Texas, where my dad did his DMA in choral conducting, and so I went to elementary school there, and we moved to Oklahoma, where he spent 25 years as the director of choral activities and chair of the music department at Southeastern Oklahoma State. I graduated high school in 1983, went to the University of Oklahoma because I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to become a better percussionist, so I was going to be an attorney and a public servant. So I did become an attorney, but I did become a public servant as a teacher. I have taught in Norman, Oklahoma, which is a large metropolitan school. I've taught in Chickasha, Oklahoma, which is a smaller school, community of about 15,000 people. Went there and the bands were making 4s and 5s, and I thought that high numbers were good, so that was an interesting turnaround. Then moved to Texas, taught at Texas Christian University as an interim, a couple of high schools, Stephen F. Austin University. And then in 2001, my band director, Mr. Threlkill, retired after 30 years as director of Pride of Oklahoma, and I was fortunate enough to be named his successor. Spent 12 years doing that, and then moved back to Texas to be a fine arts director at a large school in Richardson, Texas. And after 2 years, there were some problems with the transition after I had left OU, so I went back, and I've been back 5 years. So, year 33, and still really enjoy teaching. I've been really fortunate to teach at a lot of different kinds of places and work with a lot of different kinds of folks, and just really love teaching.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done in the name of band?
Wow. Craziest thing I've ever done in the name of band. There's so many. We actually did a Halloween show where everyone was in full costume when I was a freshman in college. And my girlfriend at the time was an artist, and she made this, you remember the Mac Tonight character of the McDonald's commercials, like this giant half-moon shaped head. And so I had that on. I was the Mac Tonight character. That's pretty obvious.
I thought that question may have led to the sumo wrestling story.
Well, I guess that's crazy. For every year we go play at the University of Texas in Dallas, and it's a really busy day. It culminates in this big pep rally with the alumni. We get back to the hotel, and the students are just way too amped up to go to sleep, so we have a party for them in the ballroom at the hotel. For the first several years I was the director, we would have a sumo wrestling ring where you put on the heavy sumo suits, and I would get in the ring for an hour, so anyone had an axe to grind would come, take it out on the old man and see if they could get me to the ground.
And you outlasted most of them.
Most of them, yeah, but I'm not as young as I used to be.
So I counted 4 phases of life at the University of Oklahoma. Your undergraduate phase, your graduate school phase, Pride Directorship number 1, and Pride Directorship number 2. What advice would you share with these students regarding taking over a program that's been very well established, nurtured, and taken care of? And on the flip side, what advice would you have for students that are going to go into a school district that has been less than successful?
Sure. I think, when I became the director at the University of Oklahoma in 2001, it basically gave me the keys and said, hey, don't wreck this, it's doing great. No pressure, right? And I think, all of us have ideas and goals and things that we want to do as teachers and as musicians. I think it's important when you're the new person in the situation, even though you're the leader of the situation, it's really important to assess why things are the way they are. I guess a good analogy, my grandpa used to say, before you move the fence, figure out why the fence is there. And don't just tear the fence down, because there may be cattle over there you don't know about. So try to figure out why things are done a certain way, because it's a lot easier for you to adapt to things that aren't really that important if you want people to adapt to things that really are that important. All right. So what I've done, every job I've gone into, I've gone into a set of year-long plans, a 5-year plan of, okay, what are the things, what's the most important thing I've got to get done the first year, and then the second, third, fourth, and fifth year. Don't try to get it all done the first year, because people don't like change. Even if it's changed for the better, they still, there's a certain amount of change that people can tolerate. Beyond that, then you start to meet with resistance, and you don't want that. So what I have tried to do in every situation I've gone in, whether it's a good situation or one that needs to be completely rebuilt, is try to understand why things are the way they are, and then try to form relationships with all the stakeholders in the enterprise, whether it's the administrators, the teachers, students, parents, community members. Why is the band important to the students? Why is the band important to the administration or the athletic department or whomever? And try to build those relationships, because when you go into a new situation, everybody's asking questions in their head that they're not telling you. The first thing they want to know is, do you care about me? And the second thing they want to know is, can I trust you? And as soon as you can convince them that the answer to both of those questions is yes, they're going to get on board with you, and then they'll do whatever you want to do. But you have to earn that trust, and you have to prove to them that you care about them. And so you do that by being consistently well prepared, being respectful, showing that they're respectful to each other, and giving them an experience that makes them want to come through the door every day. If you do that, then over 5 years, you'll get the program where you want it to be.
What's the record number of times that the OU band has played Boomers?
Well, I can tell you, when I was a freshman in college at OU, we went to our in-state rival, Oklahoma State, in Stillwater, and we were behind, gosh, I guess it was like 20-3, and for some reason, I guess Mr. Threlka didn't have a sideline pass, and we scored a touchdown to close it to 21-10, and so they came up, all of a sudden, sideline security was really interested in his sideline pass. So they decided, since he didn't have one, they were going to throw him out of the stadium. And so on his way out, he said, just play Boomer sooner until we're ahead. Just go. This is before the rule where you can't play when the quarterback's under center. I think we're probably the reason for that rule. So we played Boomer sooner on a continuous loop for an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
When we were on offense, we would bring the volume down until the ball snapped, and we'd bring it back up. And then when we were on defense, we just played full out the whole time. And long story short, we came back and won the game. And actually on that Monday, Barry Switzer, who was the coach of the Sooners at that time, came to band and gave the band a game ball by the entire team and coaching staff. So, just a loose estimate on that, that would probably be around 140 times.
Boomer Sooner.
Can you, since you've been now working in the profession as a conductor and band director for 33 years, can you reflect a bit on the importance of the applied study at undergrad school and at the graduate level, and the importance of being a quality performer on your major instrument?
Absolutely. To me, I always felt like when I was an undergraduate student as a percussionist, in here? Awesome. As a percussionist, I felt like my instruments were my band. So like if I'm working on a marimba piece, this is my band. And so I'm approaching this as an individual performer, but also as an ensemble member to try to get as much out of this particular line of music or piece of music as I can. And I think that's an important mindset as a music education major, because it's like, if you can't cook on one burner, you can't use the whole stove, right? You can't take students somewhere you haven't been as a musician. And if you don't remember anything else I said, please remember that. If you haven't been there, you don't know it exists, you can't get your kids there. So don't put a lid on what your students can do by setting the bar too low for yourself. Be brave and be willing to fail and get disappointed and learn. In the first 10 years that I taught, I would determine within the first couple weeks of school which section in my band was the weakest section. I would take lessons on that instrument that year. And most of it because I wanted to figure out how on earth is that trumpet player making that awful sound. Like, oh, he's got his bottom lip rolled over and he's clenching his throat tight. And so I'd have the kid come in at lunch and play for me and say, are you rolling your lip in and you've got your throat tight? I'm like, yeah. Like, don't do that. Like, okay. And then, it's like, no one had ever told him not to do that. And when I told him, all of a sudden this amazing sound happened. So, just don't be afraid to fail. You need to fail. Just learn from it. Figure out why you fail, because when you do those things, those are lessons you can teach to your students. And get them where they're not afraid to fail. The other thing I would say is, if you sound great when you practice, you need to practice something else.
Amen.
If you're in the practice room sounding like $1 million, you're not practicing the right stuff. I would always do what I call an emotional crescendo in my practice sessions. I would pick the stuff that was just awful and spend like the first half of my practice session tearing that apart and diagnosing it and drilling it and making it better. And then the last half of it was the I Love Me part, where I would play all the stuff that I was really great at, and then maybe I could work on boosting the tempo. So just start with the stuff that you're not good at first. Because if you sound great all the time, you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
I know you've had many memorable performances with the OU band, but what would you put up there as at or near the top of your experience with those students?
That's the thing about music is you get to have shared experiences with so many people in a variety of settings. A couple of the most meaningful ones for me, we had a football game canceled after 9/11 because that Saturday, that happens on Tuesday, and that Saturday everyone doesn't know. They just shut it all down. And so it was a couple weeks before we had our next game. And I knew that as a musical organization, we would have the capacity to help people cope with that and pull them together. And we started that halftime performance with Amazing Grace. And you know how a football stadium full of 85,000 people is not the quietest place you typically hang out. But when we had the announcement, they said what we're doing, it was absolutely silent. Just the power in the silence of 85,000 people who were all in the moment with us right then, and the opportunity we had to help them deal with that. And we went from that into Harmon Dragon America the Beautiful. So we, in a 3-minute span, we traversed the entire emotional spectrum with 85,000 people, and I'm not sure I've ever felt anything quite like that. Another experience that wasn't as serious as that, but was very meaningful as an Oklahoman. We were the first non-Big Ten, and at that time Pac-10, now Pac-12, band to get to perform in the Rose Parade on New Year's Day 2003 because of the BCS. The way that fell, we ended up being the at-large band team at the Rose Bowl. And so we're in the Tournament of Roses Parade, and if you know anything about the history of this part of the world, there was the Dust Bowl back in the 30s and the early 40s, and a lot of Oklahomans were transplanted to California to go try to find work where there was not just dirt everywhere. And a lot of them stayed out there. So as we're marching this 6.5 mile parade route, I would see people holding, elderly people holding cardboard signs that said, "Left Oklahoma in Dust Bowl, proud to be an Oklahoman, God bless you," just tears coming down the sides of their faces. We play the state song. And to realize that we have an ability to bring a depth of joy and genuine emotion to people's lives just through what we do with our instruments. It's a really humbling and affirming experience.
Now I'll turn it over to the students and the faculty in the back if they have any questions they would like to ask you. Felix.
In marching band, can you tell us the differences in ages? I just want to get your
Sure. In my first band directing job, I was at the first day of in-service, and this woman that I thought was really old, she was probably my age, like 53, because I was 22 then. She said, "Young man, what do you teach?" And I said, "Music." And she said, "No, you don't." And I got really nervous, because I thought, uh-oh, is there something I don't know about? She said, "What do you teach?" I said, "Music." And she said, "No, you don't. You teach children." And that was an important paradigm shift for me. So first of all, I think it's important to always remember that, that music education is the tool that you're using to help develop a young person. Music education is a profoundly powerful tool for that because it does it in all the different domains. It does it in the cognitive domain, the emotional domain. When you're playing a note in an ensemble, you're looking at it, you're interpreting information from a conductor, you're listening to people on either side of you, and evaluating, just all the things that are going on. Your brain is lit up like a Christmas tree. So that doesn't happen in geography, doesn't happen in math. Those are all important themes, but in terms of whole brain learning, there's nothing more powerful than the subject that you guys are preparing to teach. And so that's why I think it's so important. Because it's a whole brain type of learning, that's why kids that do that are better in other subjects, because it attaches connections across all these different synapses that no other subject will do. Plus, it's really cool.
How did music education impact your life?
Oh, wow. Music education has impacted my life a whole lot of different ways. I was a reluctant musician. I sang until my voice changed, and I refused to sing at that point. And then I was an athlete, and I wasn't in band yet. And I had a paper out, and threw the band director's paper in my hometown. He and his wife had a baby over the summer, and I guess I was pretty responsible because I always got the paper there on time. He said, "Brian, would you like to sit with our baby in the stands while we get the band ready for halftime at the games this fall?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll be at the games anyway, because I love football." So I'm sitting with the band all fall. I'm like, "This band stuff's pretty cool. I think I want to do this." And so I asked him, I said, "Mr. Gilmer, can I be in band next year?" He said, "Well, you'll have to take lessons." So I started taking percussion lessons, and I was hooked. I mean, that immediately got me into music education in a very direct way. So, as an individual, just as a growing young boy, that's how that first got me. As an adult music educator, it's given me a life beyond anything I could have imagined. The people I've gotten to do life with, my colleagues, my students, my family, it's been the connecting force in all of that. And I think it makes everything that I've gotten to do that much better. So yeah, it's been a big part of my life. Yes, ma'am. and treat them like a person, because they are. You get to know their name, look them in the eye, shake their hand every day when you walk in the building, you say good morning. You'll be the only person that does that. That's important. You know, when you guys have leftover fundraiser stuff, because all the cookie dough doesn't get sold, all the cheese and sausage doesn't get sold, that's a present to your custodian. Okay? If you've got more than the custodian needs, then the school secretary gets the next vat of cookie dough, right? Because that's the next person. That's the person that helps you get things done for your students. That's the person who will call you to say, hey, there's an angry parent running down the hallway to the band room right now, get ready. Or they'll let you know what's going on in the office. Hey, I overheard the counselors talking about moving honors English to the same period as band. You might want to go talk to them. Get to know the school secretary, and you know, find out what their favorite flowers are. If they've got grandkids, learn their names, and go in and just be a really good human being to that person, and show interest in them as a person, about their family, the things that they're passionate about. They like to cross stitch. You know, just find those common interests. They may have interests that you have. The counselors are the next ones, because you can be a great teacher, you can have great facilities. If you don't have kids in the room, you can't teach an empty chair. So, you know, get to know them, find out what you can do to help make their job better and easier. They'll probably want to do the same thing for you. Your head coaches. I played golf with every head coach that I ever taught high school